block trying to go forward, because if the market's saturated, then it's hard to add something to the market.
In terms of kind of interesting developers in partnering with the city on something like this, what sort of financial vehicles are available, tax abatements, other incentives that would be appealing to someone to engage in this sort of project and undertake some of the risk? As you indicated, the city won't underwrite 100% of the risk. Some
No.
need to.
Well, I think they'd look for probably the use of tax increment financing, if that's available. That's not available in a greenfield site. I think we had that available to us at the location at Sprint because that particular area happens to fall in an enterprise district. So that tool was going to be available to us. I think it's pretty clear that any entertainment district is going to be looking for the local government to, as much as possible, well, as much as the local government is willing, and can convince itself that it's appropriate, they're going to want them to cover the public components of an entertainment district, streets. In the big one, in any kind of mixed-use urban district, is the parking. The structured parking is very expensive. It's likely that the city would have to assist in some way with the structured parking cost component.
You mentioned tax increment financing, or TIF, as a lot of people have heard it called. Can you give a brief explanation of how TIF works and how it tends to be utilized by a city like Overland Park?
TIF is it's property taxes. Before an area is developed or redeveloped, there is a certain value of that real estate, and as a result of that value, property taxes are paid. If you increase the value of that real estate, there's growth in property taxes. That's the increment, tax increment. So what happens is that incremental growth is captured and used to finance components of a project. Rather than those revenues going to various governments and schools, they're captured and used in the development.
Does Overland Park use TIF financing?
We have only used it on 2 occasions, and just recently for the Cherokee South redevelopment project, which is underway, and for a Market Lofts condo project in downtown Overland Park, which has not broken ground.
What has kept the city from using it in the past?
TIF is typically used for redevelopment purposes. State statutes usually only allow its use for areas that are blighted or starting to move toward blight. And I think the reason Overland Park hasn't used it is because the city has not been old enough to experience those problems. And we're just on the very front end as a city starting to experience some of the earliest stages of decline.
But it is possible that there are some locations, like the Sprint location you mentioned earlier, that would qualify for TIF financing. That
location would, because there's an exception in state statute that it can be used in something that's classified as an enterprise area. And I don't remember why that area is, but that that area some years ago received that